Our next period style that is happening at the same time as the Rococo, we call the Enlightenment. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to say that this period style name is problematic because it's not really a style as much as a period of time. If you take a history of Western culture class or Western civilization class, you'll be talking about the period referred to as the Enlightenment period or the Age of Reason. It's the same time frame, around the same time frame as the Rococo. Art historians have adopted the term the Enlightenment as a period style because while the paintings are happening during the Rococo, it doesn't carry any of the characteristics of the Rococo. And instead, we see the artwork more aligned with the thoughts and principles of the Enlightenment. So it's a give and take for this period style. It's a little awkward. Now, I give you the quote Age of Reason here because I want you to understand that this is a time that historians have marked as an intellectual movement of the 17th and 18th centuries, of the late 1600s and the 1700s. That means that nobody was intellectual before? No, 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 no. What historians are saying is that it's during this time that we see a larger understanding of the natural world, and we see the rise of science in terms of specific studies like botany, anatomy, geology, archaeology, art history. So we start to see these more focused and in-depth understandings of knowledge, chemistry, physics, all of these things. And a lot of it has to do with understanding the natural world and the human world, right? Anthropology, these things, all these ologies. These things are trying to find reason and logic within this chaotic world. And what we're going to be doing in this class is we're going to be following a few key concepts that are brought up during the Enlightenment and how they are seen in a few key artworks from around the same time. Okay? Okay. I want to introduce you to, well, let's just hang out in France for a little bit. And let me introduce you to Denis Diderot. Denis Diderot, he is one of what we would call a French philosophe. Philosophe is a French for philosopher. And Diderot, he is one of many men and women who have this crazy idea that education is power, that knowledge is power, and that everyone should have it? What? I'm being sarcastic here. Let me pull it back. Denis Diderot is one of many people who are starting to argue that for the betterment of humankind, people should have an education, that people should be knowledgeable. And when I say people, I mean everyone, not just the select few. Because before this time, of course there was education, of course there was advanced knowledge, but it was limited to those in power. Because, and you know this is why you're in college, knowledge is power. For Denis Diderot, he's arguing, why limit it to those in power? We should give everyone access to education, to knowledge. So Denis Diderot establishes this really weird thing called an encyclopedia. He and a few others start gathering all of human knowledge and compiling it into a series of volumes. Each volume, if you're able to read, you can open a volume and have access to basically all of human knowledge, all of human history. That's great, right? It's Wikipedia before Wikipedia, it's encyclopedia. The word encyclopedia, it's kind of a bastardized version of encyclical, which means general or wide range. and pedia, which is education. Okay, so a wide range of education. So for Denis Diderot, he says, if you know how to read, then you have access to all of human knowledge. Now, this is a crazy idea. So crazy that Louis XV arrests him and puts him in jail. Why? Because Louis is in power. Why would he want others to have knowledge, power? This is seen as a threat. If you make people educated, then they might think for themselves. Oh, no, that's terrible. In addition to Denis Diderot, I want to introduce you to these two men. They are also referred to as philosophes or philosophers, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and Voltaire. Now, we'll start with Rousseau first. Rousseau is a man who criticized society and the constructs of civilization that were put upon man. What kind of constructs? Well, the constructs of culture and expectation, like why should we have to marry? Why should we have to do this and that? He said that civilization had corrupted the natural purity of humans. And what Rousseau offered as a fix or a solution was to return to nature, that nature had a divine rationality and sensibility. He argued that all men were created equal and that no government or civilization must be ruled by one, but by the populace, and that the populace should then be in tune with their pure and rational wishes, beliefs, and desires. So, for Rousseau, he argues for many to return to nature, as I said. He's encouraging us, like, go take a walk, get some fresh air, purify yourself of all the corruption of this man-made world. Find God, find your sensibilities, your sense of self, your sense of worth, your sense of hope, your sense of desire out in nature. So we're going to see a lot of works of art that include these kind of nature walks or this kind of purity in nature. And another key element of his argument is that people should rule through government, not just one individual. And therefore, government needs to change. Ooh, changing of government? Yeah, Rousseau is not popular in the court of Louis XV. Voltaire. Now, Voltaire is his nickname, but he is one of the best representations of the Enlightenment. He was a wealthy businessman and a historian and a writer. He was highly educated, and he had an aristocratic background with lots of aristocratic and noble friends. His books and his essays and his discussions with his friends in their private salons were often about attacking the French monarchy and protesting the government censorship and economic abuse of the nobility. And he desired social and political change for the people. And Voltaire also argued change is necessary. Government cannot continue as it does with this economic and social abuse. This does get Voltaire into trouble, and while he's friends with all of these rich people who are like, oh yes, I totally agree, it's just terrible out there, they're, sipping their expensive coffee and eating their sugared treats. Voltaire's works often not often, they are banned in France, and they have to be published outside of France and then like smuggled in. This is another thing that he criticizes, is the king's censorship laws. And he's like, look, I'm being censored. The king doesn't want you to hear these ideas that the power should be in the people. He is calling for a change in government. These are dangerous ideas. You might be thinking, Miss Cortez, this sounds like revolution. It's brewing.